Welcome back to Gameshock TV. I'm Chris Hewitt, and here are some prophetic images of what's in store in Part 2. Oh, that's good. We drive some driving games in our driving game feature. There's a spot of mind-blowing with an advanced look at Battlefield 3, and we round up some more titles to check out from the last month. From 3D plumbers to tentacle-heavy alien invasions, it's been a busy month for games, so if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by choice, don't worry, we're here to wade through the sea of dross to bring you the very best from the last month. Everyone remembers the original Crysis as the defining argument for desktop over console graphics. Ably picking up the mantle from its predecessor, Crysis 2's looks are enough to melt your face on a top-of-the-line PC. Happily, if you can afford a top-of-the-line PC, you could probably afford a new face. Whatever the platform of your choice, however, there are some stunning modelling, lighting and water effects on display. Crytek do a great job of rendering a decayed Big Apple, replete with alien redecoration scheme, although there are times when it feels like you've seen it all before, and not just from endless reruns of Friends. Luckily, the gameplay is none too shabby either. You control a supersuited Marine capable of impossible feats of strength and agility, with the handy ability to cloak yourself for a short period of time. Handy because, as you may have noticed, there's a full-scale alien invasion going on. The real genius of Crysis 2 comes in giving you the choice of how to play, rather than leading you by the hand, meaning if you get bored playing a certain way, it's essentially your fault. You can either stealthily cloak yourself, find a tactical vantage point, or sod it all by storming in and power-kicking a car into some G.I. Joe's faces. The weapons do handle satisfyingly well, and the suit itself is a masterstroke. Giving a player an all-powerful armoured weapon to wear initially seems like it could be a cop-out, but Crysis 2 throws some relentless enemy AI and perfectly tuned limitations your way, meaning it takes a while before you finally realise the damage you can do. As a result, multiplayer is slightly plagued by an uneven playing field, so that for once, the single-player mode is actually well worth your while. Undeniably fun, the gameplay is not quite as sophisticated as it sounds, however, and sometimes it does feel rather like you've just moved from one confined area to the next. The story is well told and diverting enough, even if the alien versus marine dynamic is older than parts of the known universe, and the music from Batman composer Hans Zimmer is gorgeously atmospheric, all droney swells and clicking electricity. But ultimately, it's a variation in gameplay and the pervasive polish that shines through, all of which combine to create a thrillingly visceral experience in an extremely impressive package, probably the closest yet to an intelligent and intricate blockbuster shooter, and highly recommended. Violent, but in a very different way, is Motorstorm Apocalypse. Less driving game, more Jason Statham in vehicle form, this is muscular, over the top, and utterly ludicrous in many ways, but still manages a winning smirk. Race a range of vehicles from motorbikes to muscle cars around a steadily collapsing city, attempting to avoid the mounting obstacles. From office blocks to sewers, the tracks are wildly imaginative and constantly changing, giving the game a nice unpredictability and freshness. If you have a yearning for some vehicular testosterone, there's nothing better right now than this offering. Rather more stern than Motorstorm is the latest under the Need for Speed blanket. From the foreboding music, moody greys and flashy jump cuts, it's clear from the outset that Shift 2 wants to be taken seriously. As you're told about 4 times in the opening minute, this is a battle, and it is intense. With some aggressive AI driving on display, it's hard to disagree, with parts of the game fiendish, bordering on evil. But that's not to say it's a bad game. For all the po-facedness, it's still a good deal of fun once you're up to speed. In particular, the in-car headcam gives it an engagingly novel feel of authenticity, and there are a ton of famous tracks and cars that will particularly please petrol heads. But while concessions are available for the novice driver, it's the intricately layered modding of your car that has most value in the game, meaning that unlike Motorstorm, this is probably not one for the casual gamer. However, if you're an avid racer, this represents a step up from last year's Gran Turismo, and it's certainly worth a spin. Our download-only pick this month is Outland. Much like critics' wet dream Limbo, Outland is a stylish platformer steeped in shadow-like 2D scrolling action. What starts off as a relatively simple slash and jump affair descends into deeper and more intriguing variations on the theme, with some interesting digressions, complications, and graphical gimmicks. As you progress, you're given the possibility to switch between red and blue versions of yourself, changing your abilities and available options. Clever and crafty, it weaves together some well-worn platform tropes into something intriguingly unusual. If you're prepared to stick it out through some tough difficulty peaks and gloss over the slightly airy storyline, this is a very impressive game indeed. Unless, of course, you've been in a medically induced coma for the past few minutes, you'll have noticed there's a fair few driving games in the market at the moment. But for the hardcore rallying crowd, one series in particular has always left its rivals covered in dust: Colin McRae Rally. Following a more casual approach with Dirt 2, Codemasters have gone back to basics with the forthcoming Dirt 3. We took a peek under the hood of the most promising newcomer on the podium.
We're here at Battersea Power Station in London. We've got Battersea Power Station as a Gymkhana event in our game, which was totally fictional, but now it's come to reality.
We got Gymkhana in Dirt 3, and now we're doing Gymkhana live, like for real, and giving people a real experience of Gymkhana. Giving me an experience, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. Dude, I seriously pooed myself. If I can die a happy man, I'd rather not. I still got things I want to do.
We've got such a variety of cars, and each car has such a unique characteristic that we can't just base it on simple, basic physics. You know, we work closely with the likes of Chris Meek and Ken Block, and they tell us how the behaviour of the suspension differs from an old-school rally car as well.
They open up the laptop and you can adjust springs, you can adjust ride heights, roll centres, pressure in the tyres, and all these things are given a different feeling. It's nearly exactly the same as when I go testing with my rally cars. If our skill sets as rally drivers translate very quickly into setting good times in this game, it means that the guys have done a good job. Now when I sit in them, they do give the same characteristics, and that's what the game's all about, is giving that realism.
And they've certainly done a good job with the graphics. It looks stunning, even in the split-screen modes. The team have also promised less Americanization in this outing, meaning more serious rally driving and highly tuned realism. But presumably, with Christian behind the mic, still plenty of weird made-up words that don't make much sense.
A little squirt of Hey Nasi just kind of eked out.
Multiplayer has been bolstered, and with rumours of a new Burnout game in the wings, it's good to see another racing game have some less serious additions too. The Infected mode plays out like a motorised version of the schoolyard classic It, and the much vaunted Gymkhana, despite a disappointing lack of horses, looks like a show-off's version of Burnout. Indeed, you can even save your best tricks directly from the console onto YouTube. How very new media. The whole thing's neatly packaged and looks like a fitting addition to the great Colin McRae franchise, but you'll have to wait until next month for our final verdict. Here's hoping there's a DLC horse mode in the pipeline. If Dirt 3 doesn't tickle your fancy or you're a bit strapped for cash, don't worry. We're here to help with our regular feature, games from last year that for whatever reason never got a fair shot. Now with a brand spanking new title, please give it up for driving games from the last year that for whatever reason never got a fair shot. Playing like the illegitimate offspring of Burnout and Mario Kart, but not, our lawyers want us to point out, the illegitimate offspring of Damon Albarn, Blur is a smartly dressed, destructive arcade racer. It may not have Burnout's satisfying collision physics, nor Mario's charm, an option to play as a humanoid vegetable, but Blur drives a nice line between the two, offering plenty of chunky crashes and explosive guffaws as you take out opposing drivers with a series of power-ups. From mines and gunfire to electrical fields and nitro boosts, realism is left in a garage where some real-life cars are earned and beautifully rendered for your motoring joy. Graphically, it's a slick affair, heavy on the neon and sexy colour grades. The courses look great and have a nice variation to them, visually and thematically, with several event types to mix things up. Straight out races, time trials, destruction derbies, borrowing heavily from Burnout's greatest hits is certainly no bad thing, despite not quite reaching its dizzying fuel-injected heights. But one way in which this towers over the recent Burnout paradise is the local split screen. For this is where Blur really lights up, with local competition by far the best way to get the most out of the disparate gameplay elements. Cool enough to look great in HD, but with enough additives to make this as much about tactics and revenge as it is about racing prowess. Perhaps not as good as either Burnout or Mario in their individual arenas, this is nonetheless a very accomplished amalgamation, and one that's a must for lovers of split-screen pandemonium. If the smell of burning rubber does nothing for you, then how about the sight of burning rubble? There's no shortage of shooters in store this year, and heading up the ranks this autumn is Battlefield 3. We got a sneak preview of the latest from the boys at DICE, and it's a bit of a stunner. Then again, are looks everything? I don't know, put it this way, do you really care if Megan Fox can act? Either way, hold on to your jaw and feast your eyes on this.
I guess we're late to the party. Where's the LT? Hang it right up there. I think games can sell on great visuals still, because that's the first impression you get from a game, so that's the thing you will start judging the game based upon. If the game doesn't look great, it might not matter if it plays great. So I think graphics is more important than people like to acknowledge. So looking at what we've done with the Frostbite 2 engine on the PC and then scaling it back to fit on the consoles, we're actually seeing that we can do so much more with this generation of consoles. So it's our attempt to create a next generation engine for the current generation platforms, of course. Our goal with the engine is not to create gimmicky game features. Our goal is to immerse the player further into the Battlefield experience. Frostbite 2 in general is a piece of art. Everything from the lighting to the physics engine, the ballistics, to the destruction and the animation system. I think the biggest difference between Battlefield, the core Battlefield series and the Bad Company series is, first of all, in the Bad Company series we kind of removed some of the features like prone. We simplified a lot of the vehicle controls and stuff like that to make it easier to pick up and play. For Battlefield 3, we're actually focusing on making the game the same overall platforms when it comes to hardcore features. And I think the authenticity of the core series is way more important than what we had in the Bad Company series. So it will feel quite different to play Battlefield 3 compared to Bad Company 2.
RPG, Mike 12! Second floor! Stay away from the floor!
Well, that's it for this episode of Gameshock TV. Join us next time for another half an hour of me, alone, talking to a camera. Until then, though, there's just enough time to tell you the competition winners from last month. They are there on the screen in front of you. Congratulations one, congratulations all. And let's leave you now with a sneak preview of a game that promises to be the highlight of the coming months. Rockstar's crime-solving epic LA Noire. Although, here's a crime for you to solve. Why is there an E on the end of Noire? See you next time.
Are you denying that you strangled Mrs. Tarleton with a length of rope?
I'm not denying anything. You have to have proof, lackey. Can you disprove what I say?
Besides investigation, witnesses and suspects are questioned.
Mrs. Patterson.
Is this about my husband?
Knowing how to go about the line of questioning is integral to solving every case in the game.
Let's see where this takes us.
The player must listen to the answers they're given and analyze the reactions of the witness.
Well, the last time I didn't kill my wife.
Check it against other testimonies and evidence they've collected and decide whether the person is telling the truth or has something to hide.
It's time to tell me what really happened.